I am going to do my absolute best to summarize all of the publicly available information going on with Taylor McKneely right now. On June 22nd, 2025, I posted a video about my Christian nationalist megachurch pastor father named Benny Tate, who is the senior pastor at Rock Springs Church in Milner, Georgia. And I posted that video because, honestly, I was so tired of my dad manipulating people without any kind of accountability for that manipulation that he so clearly does through his Sunday sermons. I also did it because I feel very alone in my life experiences, both in Christian nationalism and as a megachurch preacher's daughter. Those experiences have very much shaped the adult that I am, but they're also really hard to convey to people who really don't have experience in this world that I was raised in. So I decided, instead of trying to tell people what my dad was doing, I thought I would show them what he was doing by watching his Sunday sermons and unpacking his Sunday sermons and posting the highlights or things that I wanted to say in response to his sermons, because that is how I was able to deconstruct from Christian nationalism and eventually find a place safe enough to figure out what my personal beliefs were without the influence of some kind of coercion. And prior to posting about my dad publicly on the internet, I did not know the extent to which I didn't know anything. And one of the messages that I received very early on was about Taylor McKneely. And it basically alleged that he had had some kind of inappropriate texting or inappropriate behavior toward a teenager in the youth group. And that was all that I knew in the beginning. Then I got a second person basically saying the same thing. So I decided to make the following TikTok. I watched the Sunday sermon of one of my old youth pastors, and he is now a pastor of his own church. But before I get into that, I'm going to give you some backstory. From what I can remember, Taylor's family was always part of Rock Springs growing up. I don't really remember Taylor growing up, but I do remember his sister because she was closer in age to me, and she's right there. But as far as being the preacher's kid, I steered clear of everyone and everyone kind of steered clear of me. So I don't really have a ton of memories around Taylor as my youth pastor or anything like that. I think I was mostly upset that Cameron was moving on because he had been everyone else's youth pastor. And then, yeah, whatever. I also led a small group in the youth group, I think maybe in 2011 or 2012. But even then, Taylor and I did not interact ever. But if you go to Harvest Point Church, I think it's certainly valuable to ask your pastor why he got moved out of the youth pastor position around 2017. And hey, Rock Springers, I think you should ask Pastor Benny why Taylor was moved into a different position instead of being fired. I asked him myself and he didn't answer. And that's all I said, because while I believed that this did happen, I didn't have the information. I'm not going to refilm this. I did not have the information necessary in order to say it publicly comfortably. So that's all I said. And then Nina reached out to me. And first I'll show you the TikTok that I made about the screenshots. But then I'm going to, what was I even going to say? And I'm also going to read Nina's statement that she posted to Facebook. Okay, so I've cropped the screenshots, but they're photos of someone holding their phone. It's not an actual screenshot. Anyway, let's begin here where Taylor says at 1:38 p.m., "I need to know that I can trust you." And then the teenager responded, "I don't have the photo of that, but I would like to note that this is a grown man. He would have been a father of two by this point. Married for years, adult man, and this is an 18-year-old, freshly 18-year-old teenage girl. And on top of that, this man has been her youth pastor for years." So then Mr. Master Manipulator says, "So you don't want to do that to me, right?" Of course this teenager doesn't want to do that to her youth pastor. And mind you, she's still involved in youth group at this point. So
He shoots his shot. He says, "This is stupid, I know, and you're probably going to say I'm crazy and judge me all kind of ways, but I've got a thing for you. I know that's stupid and inappropriate and whatever. I love my family and would never want to mess that up, but I'm off on Mondays and think about it too much, laughing emoji, crying emoji, laughing till you're crying emoji. And I just thought, she's like a couple miles away. Anyway, it's stupid. I don't mean to be a weirdo. There." Disgusting. Let me figure out how old he is. I figured out on Instagram that he turns 38 on Monday, so happy birthday, Taylor. I'm placing you at around 31 when you did this. And here's how the teenager in his youth group responded to his attempt to hook up with her. She said, "That's flattering, but like you said, you love your family and don't want to mess that up." This is so good. Oh my God. I wouldn't want to be involved with something that would mess up a marriage or pull a family apart. I love and care about Britt too, so I wouldn't want to hurt her. Pray about it. And the teenager's youth pastor responded by saying, "Yeah, that's probably the best way to respond." So at least the teenager's youth pastor can take the rejection.
And Leah commented on that video with a very similar experience. So Leah posted her own video and I stitched hers and summarized Nina's story again, along with screenshots from Leah's story. And I'll show you that now. Before posting anything about Leah's story, I called the Lamar County District Attorney's Office, the Talladega branch, and talked to an assistant DA there, basically asking if there was any legal course that could be taken to ensure that he can't continue to do this. But because Taylor waits until I assume he's waiting until they're 16, at least, he's staying above the law. So.
Oops, got what you're attracted to. Let's see what it is.
We need to talk about Taylor McKneely again, but first I want to thank Leah for providing me with the screenshots that I'm going to talk about in this video. Before I share Leah's story, I would like to remind you of Serena's story, who I have previously shared screenshots from when Taylor McKneely was her youth pastor. She was heavily involved in the youth group, even insofar as even so far back as when I was there. When I was 18, 19, I led a small group of middle school girls, and Serena was one of those middle school girls. So Taylor knew her from middle school on. She was his youth student the entire 4 years that she was a student in the youth group. And when she turned 18, he slid things over to Snapchat, sent messages to make sure that he could trust her, and did the following. He said, "This is stupid, I know, and you're probably going to say I'm crazy and judge me all kind of ways, but I've got a thing for you. I know that's stupid and inappropriate and whatever. I love my family and would never want to mess that up." Hang on, I lost my place. "But I'm off on Mondays and I think about it too much. And I just thought, she's like a couple miles away. Anyway, it's stupid. I don't mean to be a weirdo. There." Serena said, "Absolutely the fuck not." But anyway, I would like you to note that if you look right over to the side, right next to me, it says VZW. So this is a Verizon wireless network. Leah's screenshots are from AT&T. To Leah, Taylor said, "I probably shouldn't," which he did similar to Serena. "Go ahead," Leah said. "I don't know if I can trust that you would not say anything." To Serena, he said, "I need to know I can trust you." Leah says, "You can trust me." Taylor, "You sure?" "Yes, I'm off today," Taylor says. "Okay," says the 16-year-old. The 16-year-old who is also volunteering in the media where Taylor is. And he said, "I was going to suggest that you leave a little early and come over." The 16-year-old, again, I'm reminding you that she's a girl. She's a child. She's 16. She's a teenager. That is a child. "Why do you want me to come over?" Taylor, "Does that interest you?" And Taylor got much the same response from Leah. "Do you know what you're saying right now?" Taylor says, "And you're saying you'd ruin my life." Leah said, "Yes, I will, because you're supposed to be a good role model for teens. And this is what you'd think God wants." Taylor says, "I apologize. Please just forget about it." He basically said the same thing to Serena. But if you remember, this happened to Leah after it happened to Serena. Serena happened around 2018. And when it happened, my dad found out because John Sexton found out. And John Sexton is a lawyer, another one of my dad's favorite cult members. That one's John over there. And John knew about the screenshots, and John was a member of the board. I believe he still is. So when John found out about the screenshots, he brought them to my dad. The board's decision, I assume the entire board knew, but at least Benny's decision, my dad's decision, was to move Taylor to Next Steps pastor, where I assume Taylor was also working on media, in the media room on Sundays, where he was able to make contact with Leah. And I know that Taylor's behavior goes back before Serena. This has been a pattern for a long time with Taylor. And as a reminder, this is where he is now. He's no longer at my dad's church, Rock Springs Church, but he wasn't fired. And not only that, but his wife knew about Serena, but his wife was also informed about Leah and told Leah that Taylor's Instagram or whatever must have been hacked. So not only that, but Taylor was able to get a lead pastor position at Harvest Point Church in Locust Grove, Georgia. And if we fast forward to 2022, whose name is on this book? Who co-wrote this book with my dad? And I wonder, could that have had anything to do with the prior events? I don't know. But imagine if John Sexton and Benny Tate had actually protected girls instead of just moving him around. So then Leah provides so much more information about her story, and I'm just going to clip her videos back to back. But in these videos will also be mentioned a teenage boy, well, he was a teenage boy at the time, named Joe, and Joe also weighed in on this and recalled this event. And, you know, I already knew this, and I said this when I posted his video, but they hurt boys in this too. It's not just girls, it's children.
Oops, got what you're attracted to. Let's see what it is.
That video has pulled some attraction from my hometown, so let's talk about it. And bear with me, because if I stumble over my words, to be honest, this is not something that I ever thought that I would actually come out and talk about, or much less put on the internet for all of my hometown to see. But when I turned 16, I was very heavily volunteering in the church. I went to youth group every Wednesday. I went to church every Sunday. I volunteered in the media room where I was changing the lyrics for everyone in the main auditorium for y'all to 9 a.m. on Sunday, 11 a.m. on Sunday. I was there all Sunday volunteering. So that put me in a place to have met Taylor McKneely. Also, not to mention, I did Bible study with his wife. So she knew me. She knew me on a personal level. Everyone in that church knew me on a personal level because I was there so frequently. Every interaction that I thought that I had with Taylor was, to my understanding, pretty innocent, or so I thought was innocent. I kind of just thought that he was a good mentor. He was somebody that I could go to or talk to if I needed to. You know, he was what I thought was a trusted adult. I'm 16 years old. These are people who are preaching to me about the Lord and giving your life to Jesus. And, you know, if you ever need anything, if you're ever in any, fear, come to me. So obviously I was going through a breakup at the time. All this happened around the same time. I was dating a guy at church. We broke up. And then I want to say the next time I went to church, he was in youth group and he had spoken to me. He had called me over. He knew that we had broken up. He called me over, gave me a hug, and was like, oh, like, it's really nice to see you here. Like, I'm really glad that you came in. With that being said, he knew the situation. He knew that me and my high school boyfriend broke up. Whatever, that's not the point. The point is, it didn't raise any red flags to me when a few days later he added me on Snapchat, because really looking back on it as a 24-year-old, and I look back at when I was 16, a man in his 30s, regardless of if he's in the church or if he's high up or whatever, has no business adding a 16-year-old on Snapchat, regardless of the fact. But I was young and naive, and I I didn't see the harm in it. I genuinely just thought, oh, he's probably just trying to check up on me, see how I'm doing mentally, see how I'm hanging in there, if I'm upset, that's where my mindset is. Okay, these are screenshots of text messages from when I was in high school because I don't have the same phone that I did when I was 16 years old. So these are the messages that I have. Don't have the beginning of them because I started saving the messages when stuff started to get a little bit weird, like once he was raising red flags to me. So I will let y'all read those. Taylor said, I probably shouldn't. I said, go ahead. He said, I don't know that I can trust you, that you would not say anything. I still don't know what he's talking about. So I said, you can trust me. He said, you sure? I'm off today. I said, okay. He said, I'm just going to suggest that you leave a little early and come over. I was doing dual enrollment at 16. So I was at Gordon State College. You could have easily left. My parents would have never known. And he knew this information about me. Like I said, he knew me very well. Why do you want me to come over? Does that interest you? Why did you want me to come over, Taylor? Why? As a 30-something-year-old man married with 2 kids, why did you want a 16-year-old girl to come to your house? So now I'm like, I screenshotted it because I'm like, I have to tell my parents about this. Like, I have to tell my family. I have to talk to somebody. Like, I have to tell the church. Like, I have to talk to someone and tell someone what's going on. He said, screenshot, really? And I said, do you know what you're saying right now? He said, you're saying you'd ruin my life. Okay, Taylor. He said, yes, I will, because you're supposed to be a good role model for teens, and this is what you think God wants. I apologize. Please just forget about it. So someone that I trusted has just dawned on me that relationship in his eyes was not innocent at all. So let's just say this. I call my dad. I call everyone from the church. I'm like, hey, by the way, this is what's happening, and I'm very confused, and I'm kind of freaked out about this, as one 16-year-old would be very freaked out about it. Called his wife, Brittany. She's crying on the phone telling me, oh, I just think he got hacked. I think his Snapchat got hacked. How many times are you going to use that excuse, Brittany? Because it happened to Serena before it happened to me. And God knows who else. It happened to her before me, and then it happened to me months later. So how many times are you going to use that excuse? Truly. 2 police officers came to my home and took pictures of the screenshots that I had on my phone or on Snapchat or however they did it. This was 7 years ago. So, yes, 2018. I know I said 5 years ago, but I have no concept of time. This was when I was 16. So, but Benny Tate knew. They told Benny Tate. Benny Tate knew, and he didn't do anything about it, as he didn't do anything about it when it happened to Serena. So, to the man who's in my comments section saying, why did it take you 7 years to come out? You must have been all about it. Me, a 16-year-old at the time, I must have been all about having a relationship with somebody who's in their mid-30s, married with 2 children. You tell me how that goes over. You might want to get some popcorn, because guess who got the police report back? And this is my family statement that you're about to read. Let's light this candle. On September 18th, 2018, at approximately 19:23 hours, I, Deputy Norton, was dispatched to 116 Magnolia Trace in reference to post on Snapchat. Upon arrival, contact was made with Miss Johns. Miss Johns advised that her 16-year-old daughter had been receiving inappropriate messages on Snapchat. Miss Johns advised her daughter received messages yesterday from the subject advising her to drive to his residence because he got off of work early. The messages that were observed didn't state the reason that he was asking her to come over. Those were the same messages that I posted that y'all saw. The messages were very vague that were screenshotted from the subject. The subject's wife contacted Mrs. Johns and advised her that her husband doesn't have a Snapchat. Okay. It says the subject's wife advised Miss Johns that her husband doesn't even know how to use Snapchat. Well, you used it plenty of times before me, so let's be real. says, Miss Johns advised the subject's wife, stated that the subject's wife, Brittany, said that Joe Jackson made the Snapchat and that it possibly could have been hacked. Miss Johns advised the subject's wife not to try to make any contact with her daughter. So, Brittany, instead of just owning up to the fact that your husband is a predator, you tried to throw Joe under the bus, saying that he did it because we broke up. You really think that, huh? Or is that just the delusion that's going on in your head? I'm going to pull up these messages that I received this morning from, I don't know who, but they go to Harvest Point and they were too afraid to come out and speak and talk to me about the situation, of fear of what people would think and what people would do if they found out. So they made a new Instagram to speak to me. I believe you, praying. I said, thank you. That means a lot right now. Like, just know I made this profile just today to reach out because I am a member at Harvest Point and in youth. So, but like afraid that what they might say if they knew I felt this way. But they are doing all they can to make sure that no one that goes to church finds out. The members are just as clueless. This is what she said to me. And this is all alleged because I have not seen text messages that he has sent out saying that he's not addressing this claim. But so I'm going to leave it at that. It's alleged. I'm not going to say that he did or he did not, but we're going to go as he did. The end of this message right here is what we need to pay attention to. And he already sent a message out to some people that the church would not be addressing this. So he definitely knows. No one at Harvest Point that comes knows about this at all. It's insane. So this is my question to you, Taylor. If you're being wrongly accused, don't you think any other person who's being wrongly accused would bring it to the police? But you know it's not slander. And you know I have the proof. So we're just going to keep blocking people on your church Facebook and just hoping that it gets swept under the rug like it always does. But I promise you, I'm done being silent. I'm done letting you hurt and attack these little girls who don't know any better because they're young and they're in denial and they're naive. You didn't get to do that with me. And you won't continue to be able to do that to other people. Not if I have anything to do with it. The subject's wife, Brittany, said that Joe Jackson made the Snapchat.
And that would be me, the Joe Jackson that she's referencing on that police report. Let's just get into it. So I had been in the youth since I was like 12 years old. I never had Taylor as like my pastor because he was a high school pastor and I was in middle school. And then like the year before I moved up, he got taken out, which now we all know why. But I used to think the world of him. I looked up to him like crazy. I thought he was so cool. So this is just for reference. This is me going to his page. I'm 8 pictures down. That's all of us, like this live stream people at his table. He took us out to dinner. Yeah, so we were like tight. Like saw this guy every Sunday, probably multiple times during the week. But yeah, me and Leah broke up on like a Monday or Tuesday. And that following Sunday, we both like volunteered in the live stream room. And she didn't come this time. So Taylor was like, Taylor was over this live stream room. So he was over all of us. He saw us like every Sunday. And we basically were working for him, interning or whatever, volunteering. And he asked me, he's like, hey, where's Leah at? And I was like, oh, dude, we broke up. And he was like, man, what? Why'd y'all break up? And now this guy was like super close. You saw like we hung out, like we did all these stuff, like the person I looked up to. And I was like, well, man, we both were young and like, we're tempted. We're both like heavily in church where we're tempted, and it's just best if we split up. And that's why I told him. And which is wild that, what happens next, but I told him that. And so that following Monday, which is literally right after, me and Leah were like, we didn't leave on horrible terms, but we were going to talk to each other. And so Monday I got a call from her, and she's at the college, and she's going to school, and she's like, hey, do you have Taylor on Snapchat? And I was like, Taylor McKneely? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. I was like, he made it in the live stream room, like with a whole group of all of us, most everybody that was in that picture. I just want to throw this up on that point because it says the subject name Joe Jackson made a Snapchat so it could possibly have been hacked. I didn't make that. I don't know where that came from. That's literally the biggest lie. And I have witnesses in the room that saw him make the Snapchat. So just an off point, but wanted to let y'all know. So anyways, he's texting her. We all kind of know like the spill. I'll throw the screenshots up now. Probably shouldn't. Go ahead. I'll let y'all look at that for a second. But if you look right here, I'm on call with her here. So this is me. She's telling me everything that's going on live. And I'm like, this is wild. I mean, y'all have seen all this. So I tell her, I'm like, hey, why don't you tell him that you're coming over? I'll call the police and we'll meet him at his house. And she didn't want to end up doing that, which is fine. She's 16 and that's clearly fine. I mean, there's a lot going on here with this man texting you at 16, telling you to come over. So no problems there, but that was the plan. So after that, I believe her parents get the police involved, and that's where that police report came from. And I think they went and talked to the McKneelys, and they went and talked to the Johns. Just FYI, I didn't know about that police report till today. So kind of crazy to see that my name was put in there and said that I was the one that made it, and saying that it was hacked that way, which is crazy, literally crazy. So the week goes by. Wednesday night's like church night, so I sing on stage. So we go to Wednesday night. Haven't seen Taylor all week. Haven't talked to him. I don't even know if he knows that I know. And so I'm about to go on stage. He grabs me. He's like, hey man, just can we talk for a minute? Pulls me into a room. And we're talking. And he's like, hey man, I just, with all this stuff going on, I just want you to be on my side about this. And I was like, on your side about what? He's like, well, the Snapchats. Like, I just, me, like, it ain't me. And I was like, well, I don't know nothing yet. I was like, he's like, well, I got hacked. And I was like, well, why haven't you got the police involved? Because whoever's hacking you is clearly trying to ruin your life. He's like, oh, I don't want to get the police involved, man. I just want you on my side. Like, I know it just sounds crazy, but I got hacked. And I was like, I'm not on anybody's side right now. I'm trying to figure this out. And he goes on. He's like, yeah, I just want you on my side. Just want you on my side. And I was like, man, Taylor, I was like, look, I hope this isn't you, but if it is, you are the scum and you are up there with the devil for me. And right then told me everything I need to know. He went pale white, and that was it. That was it. I walked off, went on stage, and he was gone. So he's still active in the church, still going on. I haven't seen him. I don't think I'm going to stream at this point. And then I get called in to be questioned by the police. They call me in. I sit down. They asked me about the screenshots. They asked me about everything. There's not much. Everything I just told you is what I told them. But yeah, so I guess at that point it was an open case. But yeah, I just wanted to bring this to as much light as I could. I know it can be hard to hear, especially when you're involved in church. I had to step away from church for a little while because of this. And, as soon as you come to the realization that the devil rules this world and that this is his playground, you're going to see evil everywhere. And, it's hard. You're going to see evil in church. You're going to see evil outside of church. It feels worse when it's in church, but no matter where you go on this earth, there's going to be evil. And so, that's not to say that somebody that is evil should stay at a church. I think you, as that person that's evil, should step down. You shouldn't, if you're having these temptations for younger women or anything, you need to step down if it's a pattern. And if you don't step down, the church needs to step up and take you out of that position. I know Taylor stayed at his position until he wanted to leave, and that doesn't sit right with me, for one thing. But that's just my opinion. I appreciate y'all watching this video, and thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to read Nina's Facebook post, and I've included a photo that she included in the Facebook post. I've gone back and forth about saying anything publicly, but I can't sit in silence while people twist the truth and defend what can't be defended. For anyone who hasn't seen the screenshots or videos floating around, yes, everything you've heard and read about Taylor McKneely is true. Taylor McKneely, my former youth pastor and media photography mentor at Rock Springs Church in Milner, Georgia, crossed lines with me eerily shortly after I turned 18. I had known him since I was a kid. He watched me grow up. He was married. He had young children. He was supposed to be a spiritual leader, someone I could trust. Instead, he started sending me inappropriate sexual messages that no pastor should ever send, especially to someone who had spent years as a teenager under his leadership. The church board, including head pastor Benny Tate, knew of the entire story and stories before mine. They all knew, and they did nothing to protect me or anyone else. They didn't remove him. They didn't warn anyone. They didn't protect the children who came after me. Instead, he was promoted, given a college small group ministry, more influence, and more access to vulnerable young people. Because let's put the creep who is preying on teenagers in another position of authority over a group whose dynamic is made up of primarily teenagers, right? Because apparently the church's reputation mattered more than the safety of its congregation, and that is an ongoing theme that I have learned. I tried to bury it for years. I told myself it was over. I told myself speaking up wouldn't change anything. But I've learned I wasn't the only one. When Leah came forward recently with her story, one that was nearly identical to mine, except she was 16 at the time, it ripped open every old wound I'd tried to pretend had healed. And now we know of at least one other victim whose experience was worse than ours. So I'm speaking now because I refuse to let Leah stand alone. Because I refuse to let people call her a liar. Because I refuse to let this man hide behind a pulpit while pretending to be a messenger of God. If you're defending him or the church that protected him, ask yourself why. Why are you so desperate to protect an abuser instead of the people he hurt? Why are you more angry at victims for speaking up than at the predator who caused it? This isn't church drama. This isn't gossip. This isn't hearsay. This is abuse, and it's been swept under the rug for years. There are messages, there are patterns, there are police reports, there are victims, plural, there's proof. And all of it points to a man who has never been held accountable and to multiple churches that chose and continue to choose image over integrity. Now, Taylor McKneely is the head pastor of Harvest Point Church in Locust Grove, Georgia. No oversight, no board, no accountability, no one to answer to, just a fancier title and a bigger platform to exploit, a new microphone to hide behind. Meanwhile, the people he hurt have to live with the damage while others lined up to call him anointed. That's not faith, that's hypocrisy. And if the truth makes anyone uncomfortable, good, it should. To the ones still trying to justify him or pretend you don't know the full story, she put that in quotations. You do now, here it is, and if you can read this and still defend him, then you're complicit. You are part of the problem. You are a part of what has allowed this to keep happening. You are the reason victims like myself and Leah stay quiet for so long. You deserve to feel just as guilty as guilty for this predatory behavior as Taylor does. And then she thanks me, Leah, and Joe very kindly, and she says, and to other survivors, the ones who haven't spoken yet, the ones still carrying your pain quietly, please know this, you are believed. You are not alone. You're not crazy. You are seen and you are heard. If you ever find it in you to share your story, I'll stand beside you too. These are Nina's words, but I mean that as well. It's time people start holding abusers and the systems that protect them accountable. It's time to stop choosing silence. It's time to stop protecting monsters in the name of ministry. Ooh, that was a bar. It's time to stop protecting monsters, period. Because we deserved better. We still do, and so do your children. And to Taylor McKneely himself, I would just like to say, Taylor, that the stuff that I know that you're hoping I don't know, I know. You might want to start telling your wife.